sees the release of the complete Creative Bassist course over at the Talkingbass website. It's been a whole year of work designing and recording it, and the course is specifically designed by you, the viewer. Last year, I sent out a survey to the Talkingbass community asking if they could have any one course, what would it be? I received hundreds of replies and nearly all of them asked for a course on bassline creation and jamming. Many viewers also asked for a course on soloing. So I set about creating this ultimate course combining all of those requests into one big bumper course on creativity. And here it is, the Creative Bassist. Over 20 hours of video lessons, over 300 pages of lesson material and hundreds of practice tracks devoted to your development as a creative musician. So today, let's look at a sample lesson from the course dealing with blues improvisation. This is fairly deep into the course, so it is assumed that you understand chord tone soloing and chord scales at this point. Everything that you see in this lesson is the culmination of other step-by-step lessons that build you up from a basic solo beginner. If you're interested in learning more about the course, follow the link in the info below, and now let's get into some blues improv. We've already covered the blues as an essential progression in Volume 1. We looked at the basic bones of the 12-bar chord sequence and added a few common additions into the mix. In this lesson, we'll use the basic quick change blues with the turnaround that looks like this. So we're in the key of F. We have a basic chord progression of F7 for a bar, then B flat 7 for a bar, so that's the quick change. We one bar of each, and then back to the F7, so right to F7. Then up to chord 4 again, B flat 7, 2 bars, F7, chord 1. Then chord 5, C7, B flat 7 for chord 4, F7 chord 1, back to C7 as our turnaround. Okay, and that is the basic harmony. So let's try the basic arpeggios over that backing track. So we're going to be playing the F7, B flat 7, then later on we're going to have C7 and back through the B flat 7. So there's only really 3 arpeggios to use. F7, B flat 7 and C7. So that's the general harmony. But in this lesson, I'm going to touch on a couple of extra things that we've not covered to this point. Let's first begin with the most basic way that blues guitarists approach playing over a blues progression. And anyone can do this on any instrument as a beginner. All we need to do is use the blues scale. The blues scale is a minor pentatonic with an added passing note between the 4th and the 5th. And pretty much all of you have probably played this at some point. So let's play it on an F. So that's going to be F, A flat, B flat, then B natural, C, E flat, F. Okay, so we've got root note, minor 3rd, perfect 4th, that passing note, the sharp 4 or flat 5th, 5th, flat 7, and up to the top, to the root. So F, A flat, B flat, B natural, C, E flat, F. And it's all transcribed there in the lesson material. So this blues scale can be used to play over the whole 12-bar blues progression. You don't have to think too much about the chords, you just use that scale, and it doesn't even matter that you're going to be very root and 7th heavy while playing it. It doesn't matter that there's a minor 3rd in there when the chord has a major 3rd. None of it matters. You get that blues sound. So here's a simple solo just making use of that simple blues scale. So I'm going to use F blues, the F minor blues, over that F blues chord progression. It's all transcribed for you in the lesson material so you can learn it in your own time. blues scale. It's a simple way to play over a blues. But wait a minute, why am I talking about the blues scale like there's a huge caveat and a big but coming up? Well, the big problem with using one scale for the whole blues is the same problem that you'll get from using a single major scale for a chord progression in a major key. You're not addressing the chords. You're not thinking about the harmony. So let's just say that we ignore the practice track for now. I'm going to play that blues solo again, but with no backing. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, did you notice something? You can't hear the changes. Now, if you were really concentrating and thinking about the blues chord progression, as a listener, you might be able to hear it in there, but all of those licks, as I'm working through, we've got that is very much an F7 based line, well, an F blues line. But then when we have things like that could also be, over that F7. Each of those licks will work if that's just all F7, and it can just sound very root note oriented. Everything comes back. Everything's coming back to that F. Many times in a band setting, when you take a solo, the chords drop out. It's just you and the drums. You have no point of reference. The audience has no point of reference. So from your perspective, it's easy to get lost. And then from the audience perspective, they'll get lost too. But if you think more from a harmonic perspective, outlining the chords or maybe just visualizing those chords as they pass, you'll keep your bearings. It's one of the main problems that bass players run into when taking solos. You just lose your place because you're not thinking of the harmony first. And like I said, sticking to one scale throughout multiple chords and ignoring the changes can just result in you landing on the root note of the key way too much. Like in that solo, I just landed on that F as a cadence point for almost every phrase. And that's because it's one scale. There's no thought for the individual chord tones around it. So here's another solo, all transcribed there in the lesson material, and this time I'm going to work around the chord tones using melodic devices, chromatics, and the basic chord scales. The chord scales for each of these dominant 7 chords will be mixolydian, so we're going to be using F mixolydian, B flat mixolydian, and C mixolydian. So we begin on that F7 with, so we're right on the beat there, and we're coming up, we're starting on the 5th of the chord, the C, up through the chord tones, C, E flat, F. Then we got that minor to major third, that little chromatic approach there, very bluesy, use it all the time. And then back to the root note. Again, you'll often get that, or that, got that minor third to major third, root. Then after the F, we have a little E flat to lead us into the B flat 7 there. So we're just dropping down a whole step. So it's a nice approach into the next chord. So we've got, so we've got 3rd, then 4th, then sharp 4, 5. So on the B flat 7, chromatic. So we've just filled in the gaps there from the 3rd up to the 5th. Then drop down to the root and the 7th. So it's pretty much all chord tones. You're working around the chord tones, but we've got that little approach into it, and you got that little chromatic approach. So again, it's all working around that B flat 7 framework. We're not just thinking that F blues. So those 2 bars slowly, 3, 4. You can hear the chords moving by. Then we have a long line over the F7 of. So this is very similar to one of the lines that we played earlier in the module. So we start on the B natural there, leading us into the C. So it's pretty much a sharp 4 leading into the 5. It's just a chromatic approach into the 5th of the chord. Then up through the chord tones. Then we get this, it's just chromatic leading up. So it's the minor third into the major third, and then you got the chromatic line leading from the 3rd up to the 5th. So chromatic approach into the 3rd and continuing. So, and just coming back down it. So. And then, after landing on that A flat, we come down through the chord tones, F, E flat, C, then down to the B flat, which is a passing tone, and then we've got the A flat into the A, that minus a major third again, but this time moving up to the root note. That's that cool bluesy move again. So the whole line, 3, 4. So those first 4 bars, 3, 4. Next we're on the B flat 7 and we have all chord tones starting on the 5th, the F, F, D, F, A flat up to the B flat. All chord tones there. Then still on the B flat 7, second bar of it. So for the first bar there, repeat the rhythm. So we've got this time that minus a major third again. So this time it's the D flat leading into the D, then the F. Then we've got that little chromatic approach into our root note. So it's the second, the flat second, and then the B flat. So. And in terms of the overall line there, because the first time we played the 7th of the chord, we're on the A flat, and then the second time, you can hear that because the line is A flat to the B flat, in terms of the cadence, you've got this gradually ascending line to it. Remember what I said about seeing the overall picture? This is a slight introduction to that. There's that, and then you can hear it ascending. Then we're back to the F7 and have very jazzy blues kind of line. So again, we've got the minor third to major third. How many times have we used that? Up to the 5th. So A flat to the A, up to the C. Back down to the 3rd. Down to the root note. So all chord tones apart from that chromatic approach in, and then we fill in the gap between the root note and the 7th. So F, E natural, E flat. So if you can see the basic arpeggio of F7, we're just approaching the 3rd and filling in the gap between the root note and the 7th, basically. 15th, 14th, 13th frets. Then for the C7 we have, starting on the 7th of the chord, down to the 6th, then down to the 5th. So it's basically coming down the scale from the 7th. Then we got that minor to major third again, down to the root note. Remember, that's such a common theme. Then we take that all down a whole step as we move down to the B flat 7. But instead of playing the low root note, we play the high root note, the B flat, up at the 15th fret of the G string. Again, cool little blues move. So on the first time, and then on the second time. So those 2 bars again. So then we land on the F7 leading into the C7, and what do I play here? Well, it's going to be the blues scale. So the blues scale is fine to use. You know, I know I talked about how it doesn't outline any chords, but if you're just playing over that F7, That blues note there works really well over the actual F7. So I come down through that F blues scale, F, E flat, C, C flat, B flat, A flat, F, then down to the 7th, which is the E flat, 11th fret of the E string, all triplets. And then we come up through the F7 arpeggio. When we get up to the top, so we've got... But as we come up through the F7, we're actually putting the minor third to major third in. So A flat to A flat to A up at the top, so 11th to 12th fret, and then 13th to 14th fret on the G string, so normal flat 7 to root note there, 13th to 15th fret, E flat to F, minor third to major third, then we fill in the gaps, 15th, 16th fret, up to the C root note of the C7, so we land on that target. So, now the whole thing very slowly. 3, 4. So, notice that when I play that away from the backing track, you can hear the notes in the progression. You can hear the chord tones. You can hear that move from F7 to B flat 7. You can, every time. That's the C7. You can hear the movement. So, one more time with the track. So that's the blues. Learn each solo that I've presented here. Then, as homework, create your own solo over that F blues. Outline the harmony, add a few blues scale lines in there, and also try using a couple of repeated phrases. Then, the cool part about learning to play over a blues is that there are millions, literally millions, of blues recordings. You can learn solos from beginner level to the most advanced levels possible. Learn individual phrases, take them apart, and start incorporating them into your own solos. The blues is an essential study for every improvising musician, regardless of the instrument or level.